Okay, part three, part one, two, Gohk of this IHMIG, when you bought IHMIG, and got the one inquiry when you is that IHMIG and Hajun is kind of the same thing, but Hajun is like more your relatives, your blood relatives, more same outcome. That's another word, outcome. But IHMIG is how you say something, how you express. I was trying to look for the right word for IHMIG, and I went through the dictionaries and all this, the word, and I couldn't really figure out. The only thing I can figure out is that the IHMIG is the way you would say it in English. It's kind of like a title that somebody has. Kind of like you have a king and a queen, and then you have a prince and a princess, and then you have the duchesses and the knights and the different. They're just titles, so you fit in a place that is a title. And in autumn like that we have that. So all these other titles, when you're called something like a title, then it you fit in that category or that little spot. And you can hold two titles in autumn depending on the bloodlines. So where we left off with the what you guys would call the ani in the way that, like I said, we're going to start off at the center with something that you're used to, like Anya and my cousins and all that. And we did that. So this next one, I'm going to go all the way to the top rather than all the way to the bottom. I don't know. I think at the bottom, because kind of like a tree grows and it has the leaves. The bottom is where the roots are, and that's what makes it strong. So the leaves, when the rain comes and the tree needs to eat, it doesn't eat from the leaves. The rain will fall on the leaves and it'll go down. But what happens is the water will go down into the ground, and in the ground it turns wet, and all those chemicals that are in the ground, they're in the soil, they're just kind of like they're stagnant waiting. And then the sun comes up, and then the sun makes those things hot, the chemicals, and they start to move and they start to go in, and that's what makes the tree go out and pull those chemicals with that wet into itself, and then it feeds the tree and the leaves grow. So in that way, the family tree, the family system, that's how it kind of works in autumn. So this IHMIG, when you guys to go way to the top or way to the bottom, to the roots, I go with teacher, to the roots of the thing. The tree is as strong as its roots are. The leaves, they show off where the tree is sick, or where the tree is dying, or whatever. It shows off in the leaves, but the roots are what makes it, strong. There was a tree one time that died, but there was one little green and like a leaf thing, and my dad said, "We walk, but get it some water." And we did that, and we kept doing it, and all of a sudden it started growing again. Like it started growing. So again, it was feeding the roots that made the tree grow. The same thing, the spirituality of autumn. So at the very top, and like I said before, this is built on stuff that's in the past, that's already gone. So this thing Machamaga, the family systems, it's going to reflect what used to be long time ago. Now, a long time ago, people generally lived until they're about, for males, it's probably about 45 years old. Around that time, then men weren't expected to go past 45, 47, around there. Iwa. And so they would have their kids, then their kids would have their grandkids, and then after that they would have like the great grandkids. And by the time the man is about their 45, around there, they will be able to see their grandkids if everything goes, because it's like 16 years and then 30 and then 45, so that's like the third generation. So that's how mas money. And for women, they live a lot longer, probably like 49, 48, around there. Well, that was the life expectancy long time ago. Nobody, or a lot of people didn't live past the age of that, and those two, for male and female. It was lucky for a man to be like 70 years old a long time ago, because there was a lot of crib death and a lot of stuff, and people didn't live that long, and that's why they all had a lot of babies. You know, all the family, especially like people like my parents that were born in like in the 30s and 40s, they had a lot of kids. You know, it's like if you ask somebody that is that was born around that time, 1930s, 1920s, 40s, they always have a lot of big family, like they have 13 kids or 17 kids, because again, it was there was a lot of crib death, a lot of SIDS. So somebody would pass away early when they're in the crib still. So they tried to have a lot of kids, so that way a lot of them would survive to help work in the fields and whatever. So that was something more, you know, that you need to remember as we're looking at this, that all this stuff Manyamaga goes way back to the past, and that's how all these things happen, and how Joe Damaka and Nita giving us these things, give us these things. So and so we look at that again. So somebody that's a great grandfather will be about that age, about in the 40s, you know, and so that's what we call them. That, and when they grow older, then they have a title, one title that what you call them. Now you have males and females in this title. It's not like males have one title and females have another title. It's more like it's just generic. So when you get to your mom, dads, and then your grandpas, and then after that they get to the grandparents, then they have this title, and that's just for all the great grandparents. In some cultures they'll have, like, you know, like titles for like great grandparents and great grandparents and great grandparents. But again, I guess Pagkamisa thought that, and they live a long time or whatever, so they can mention those things. Or like when they recount their family tree, they can say, oh, this one is the great grandfather. But for all of them, it wasn't like that. People usually died, you know, sooner. So ayap chuig masma chuig that IHMIG. So the IHMIG word for hugam, those there's a thing right there. There's a word that we use, and that word generally, or generally is the, but there's a general word mabaga we God. That's the general, specific. Everybody knows that word. The general word for we God. And I have these little people when it was long time ago, and I've been using them here and there. But this is the one that I put for the weekly, you know, the week God. So here is weekly, and she's using her what do you call those things? They're the things that they walk with, walkers. So she's using her walker, and she's walking around in High Joshua. She's older, she's like about her 60s, 70s, around there. So this is a weekly, and again, it doesn't matter if they're male or female. It's just weekly. So weekly. But again, when you catch the dialects difference. So some dialects will use a word, but they're kind of like pet names, but not really pet names. They're just like when you get a title, but it's a different way of saying it, especially when you say it from babies. So weekly is the general word, but some people say weekly. It's the same person in the same title. It's just a different sound for a name. They used to think it was dialect, but then they started hearing all the different dialects would say that, how, and weekly. And then there's another word, they call it weetachi. And then there's another word that again, it's the same thing, but it's just a different sounding way of saying the same word. So this word is vivi'i. Again, for the mostly in the dialects that have the V sound, all the way Hila Bend, all the way across to Comat, and down to the Sea of Cortez. Look, all those ones go all in that area. They use that a lot. Even though there are some families that say we got, most of them would say vivi. But you can vivi. Bokai can vivi. Who can you vivi? That's what they're talking about. It's we got. It's just a different sound. So I hear people say that, oh, that's not what we call it. So but it's the same thing. It's just different, again, different way of saying titles. So we, the G, we, person. Again, male, female, doesn't matter. So when they get to that part, they've graduated to that. Now with the Hanyega, their great grandchildren. So there's a title. When we is there at home or whatever, a great grandmother is there at home, and you have the kids or the younger people, they're gonna come and they're gonna talk to her, and they're gonna say hello. But like I said a long time ago, Autumn didn't really have a word for hello. It was just recognize the title. So here's Weekly, and here's this girl coming, and she's gonna talk to her, and she's gonna come, and she's gonna say Weekly, and she has to reply to her, recognizing her title. So you say Weekly, and she would say Nyawishat or Nyavishat. So somebody say Nyavishat, the same response. So Hookie, that recognition of the two, that's what we call IHMIG. It's a title, it's a recognition. So when those elders say Buganim, what they're talking about is they want you to say that title. Nyawikoli, Nyawikol, Nyawishat, Traptachu, Bakaji can tell him, whatever. And it don't matter who the child is, how old they are, and the little boy right here, he's gonna come and he's gonna say we gonna, and he's gonna say Nyawishat, and they're gonna talk to each other, Nyawishat, so that's the exchange. We shut. You would call, if you have great grandchildren, you would say Nyawishat, Nyawipshat. For many of them, Nyawipshat, Weepshat. And this one, when it's one person, it's we shut. So if I have great grandchildren and I will see them and I say Nyawishat, I would call them Nyawishat, and then they will come and then talk and whatever. So this is the exchange again. Nyawikol, Nyawikol. There's a road. A road, but a piece of land over there from, if you're going from Casa Grande to Hila Bend, and it's called the Vico Road. It's also, the turnoff is called Vico Road, but the land is called the Vico Valley. That's what they're talking about. It's Vico. There's a store. I think it was in, where is it? Action? Yeah, Action Maricopa. They call it the Vico Markets. Vico. So that's what a Vico is. That's the lowest, the bottom of the root of the tree. Then the next part is we'll see. We'll go to the males now. Again, and after that, after Vico, the males have different. You call them different, male and female. You call the male parent, grandparent, different than the female parent. You don't call them the same. Whereas, like I said, Vico, you just say Vico for all the great grandchildren. Grandparents, and Vico. So we have here, again, your parents. There's two of them. There's your mom and your dad. So you have your father's side and your mother's side. So your father has parents. You didn't know that? Yeah, your father has parents. Those are your grandparents. Again, in Yucam, abuelo. In Mirgan, grandpa, grandma. But in autumn, we have to announce there's 4 of them, because Your mom has a father and a mother, and your dad has a father and a mother. So there's 4 of them. 2 girls, 2 boys. Okay? So on your father's side, whoever your father is, and I'm hoping that you're taking notes, but if you can, write the name of that person, your father's side. Put father's father, and then put the IHMIG. Okay, the IHMIG is, or your father's father is Ñ-IHM. Ñ-IHM. So here is little girl, and she came home from school and she wants to ride the horse, and so she goes and she has her books, and she's walking over there to see her wask, and they say Ñ-IHM, and then he stops and Hata Joe and we Ñ-IHM. That's how they say it, Ñ-IHM. So the kids will call their grandpa on the father's side, your father's father, they say Ñ-IHM, and he would say Ñ-IHM. So Vusk, in those dialects that use the V, Vusk and Vusamat, Ñ-IHM. So she's from from way down on that side. She's from St. John's, Comet, and she's walking up. She's saying Ñ-IHM, and she's saying after John Ñ-IHM, like that. So they're talking to each other. Ñ-IHM. It's the recognition of the titles. Okay, so Ñ-IHM, but there are other ways of calling Ñ-IHM. They say Ñ-IHM. Ñ-IHM up Gaich. Ñ-IHM. Some people say that way. I guess when I was a child, my parents or whoever was tried to teach me to say that Ñ-IHM, but I didn't say it right. And what came out of my mouth was Wokiko. Wokiko. And so that's how because I'm the oldest of all my cousins, the immediate cousins. So we all started calling him Wokiko. So that's what we call sometimes my grandpa, and like when we say to each other in our family, Wakaiji Wokiko, he said that. A long time ago, Wokiko said this, Wokiko. But that's not the way that you're supposed to say it. It's supposed to be Ñ-IHM. So other people hear it and they think that we're saying it wrong, or either that that's another way to say the title, but it's just really our family. So Ñ-IHM. So again, you go to your wask and you're going to ask him for money, and you go and you say Ñ-IHM, and then you'll say Ñ-IHM. Again, that's the term. So if you are your son and your son has children, they are your Wasamat. And again, if you have those, you need to write down their names. All your son's kids and your father, you say Wasamat, your father's father, Ñ-IHM, Ñ-IHM, Ñ-IHM. Okay, so those are the titles. Now, your Wask has sisters. So the word see, because your Wask has brothers and he has cousins. So all those boy brothers and boy cousins for your grandfather, they're all your Wask. All of them are your Wask. They're your Wask. So again, your dad's dad, if he has brothers, you're going to say the same thing in your Wask. But if he has sisters, then you would say Ñ-IHM ox. Ox is not the word for old woman, it's the word for elder woman. Okay, so Wask ox. So if I go to my Wask ox and I say Ñ-IHM ox, what is she going to say back to me? She's going to say Ñ-IHM. Ñ-IHM. That's how you say that. Ñ-IHM. Okay, so all the females connected to your father's father, your grandpa, is your Wask, Ñ-IHM. Your Wask ox, your Wasamat. Wasamat. Okay? And then we look at the dad's mother. Let me see, who is that going to be? This one right here. This is the dad's mother, and she is she is like that. She is wearing her dress, and just her shoes, her shoes, see. So she, your dad's mother, is your Gohk. Gohk. You say Gohk, 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 Gohk. That's the word that you use. So your father's mother is your Gohk, and all her sisters and her girl cousins, they're all like with her in that line. They're all gonna be your Gohk. All of them. Keep getting reminded. My grandmother, Chichik, these guys that are related to us, they'll say that the Nyam Gohk. And okay, so that's what I call them, Gohk. Now, when you go to grandma and you say Nikak, she's gonna say Nikaamat. Nikaamat. Kaamat with a K. Kaamat. That's how they say it. Now again, different names, different dialects, different families. This is the one that you also hear people calling her Nikakaa. 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 Or Nikagari. 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 Some people say that. So Nikaka. So it's like when you look at the charts and they write these charts out of what they'll only put one word like Gohk, and you say, oh, that's not right, because they don't have, I don't know who that is, but it's just that you're calling it different. That's also, you're saying Kaka. So that's what that is, Nikak. So again, you go to your Gohk and you're saying Kak, you're saying Kaamat. When you go to your mother's brothers or male cousins, all those that are the same with her on that side, you say Nikakuri. Nikakuri. Kakuri. Kuri again is not the word for old man, it's the word for elder man, older man. So Nikakuri. So again, you go and you say, let's see, this who's gonna go? This little boy right here is gonna go, and he's gonna say Nikak, 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 kind of like that crow, Kak, 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 and then she says, after Johnny Kamat. Again, that's the recognition. We didn't have hello a long time ago, so that's how people said hello. Is that Wa'im, Wa'im. So Ka, Kamat. Okay, so that's on your father's side. Again, your father's mother. And this is the father's son. So she goes, Ka, Nikaka, Raptapocho. So again, must not chew it. And so this is the Ka. Now, on your mother's side, your mother also has a father and a mother. So your father, let's see who wants to be the father. Oh, this one. Timaha. Your mother's father, okay? Your mother's father, and the title that he gets is Bob. 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 You can say it backwards. Bob. See? Bob. So, your Bob. So when you see your mother's father, you say, Bob. Here's a young woman, and she is going to go see Bob, and she said, Bob. And he turns and he says, Ba'amat. 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 Okay, so Bob. This is your Bob. And the exchange between the two, the granddaughter and the grandfather, Ba'amat. Okay, now again, this one here is kind of strange. It's because it's just one simple word. A lot of stuff added on. Some people will call him Ba'a. Baba. It's the same person, the same thing, just a little bit different depending on how your family says it. Ba'a. Some families will say Nepabli, Nepabli, Nepabli. Okay, Nepapsh, Nepapsh. I've heard that before. Nepapsh. So your Bob, your mother's father. Now he has brothers. All of them are gonna be. They're gonna have that title as Nepab. Nepab. Okay. He has sisters and girl cousins. So when you go to them, you're going to say Nyabab ox. Just like you say on the other side, Nyawask ox, you're going to say Nyabab ox. Nyabab ox. Okay? So again, you go and you Bo'im, you know, your father's sister. Nyabab ox, Nyabamat. That's the hello. That's why we didn't have a word, because that's how people did it. We didn't have good morning, good afternoon, goodbye. Those are what they call literal translations from English. The word good, skug, and morning, siari. That's how we got those. Skug hudinik, skug damjuk, skug jukam, whatever. They're just literal translations. But in the autumn world, those were kind of like how you greet somebody with their IHMIG. Okay, and then the last one is your, okay, who wants to be next? Okay, begin. Okay, this one is your mother's mother. Okay, representing your mother's mother. Okay, and so your mother's mother. How do you say that? That's the most famous one. That's the one that everybody always uses to say grandma. But it depends on which side of the family. This one is your hu'ud. 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 Now, again, there's different ways to say hu'ud. It's just the title. That's the kind of like the general way to say hu'ud. But in some dialects they'll say ru'ru'u, ru'ru'u, hu'ru'u, ru'ru'u. See where the word comes from? Hu'ud, hu'udu, hu'ru'u, hu'ru'u, ru'ru'u, ru'ru'u, and it becomes ru'ru'u. Okay. What's the other one that they use? Ru'richi, ru'richi, and they also say ru'pi, ru'pi, but it's that one, Yahu'ud, Yahu'ud, mother's mother, Yahu'ud. Now, see whose turn is it? You can go again. Give my aunt a mushroom. She comes running up saying, Yururu. What is the response? Who knows? Say it, come on. You should know it. Because you're all Tahono and Akimel and Hiachet, whatever you call it. You should all know the IHMIG. Hawkyok said it, you know, in that story of Hawkyok. They call her Nyahuod, and she comes and she says that word back to them. That's the IHMIG. Mopa'im. You know to get the IHMIG. So they say Nyahor. She comes home and she says Nyahor, Nyahor. She's gonna say Nyamos, Nyamos, Mos, Mos. That's how you say it, Nyamos. So she's gonna say, or like if she's like maybe she can't get up out of bed, or maybe she wants to help, and she'll call, then you know the little, you'll say Nyamos, Nyamos. But if you say it like many kids, you'd say your moms, your moms. So again, if you have grandchildren from your daughter side, you would call them your moms, your moms, your moms. Running over, hey, um, hey, how's your moss? Oh yeah, you know, because kids also supposed to know that stuff. Your moss, okay? So, hood. Now, your hoodie, she has sisters. They're all gonna be your hood. They're all gonna refer. That's their title. Okay. The hoodie has brothers. Those ones you're going to call your hood curly. Hood curly. And when you go to your hood curly and you say, your curly, but just come cabello, then he would say, ay, your mouse, vaya, su tuach, como un tamicus. So again, moss. When babies are small and baby, oh, your moss, bagim and your moss, and then go up there, you know, like that. So again, hood. So review. The oldest, the great grandfather, grandmother. How you say it? Vivi, Vivikod, Vitachi. That's that title for Hugam. And then your father's father is going to be your, come on, say it, your wask or your wasi. Okay? And when you go say your wask, he's going to say what? What? Loud, I can't hear you. It's going to be your wasamat. Your wasamat. Then, let me see, let me trick you. Then your ba, you're going to go to him and you're going to say, Bali. And they're going to say, he's going to say, your ba'amat. Your ba'amat. Ba'amat. And then you're going to your Gohk and you say, Gohk, 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 Gohk. And she's going to think, oh, there's crows outside. It's how, and you get your cutter. Gohk, 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 good. You got me up. Gohk, Gohk. When you go and you say Gohk, they're going to say, Ga'amat. Ga'amat. Okay? Then the last one is the Lupilu Hu'ur. She's going to be tired and she's going to, and she's going to say, call to you and to come help her. She's going to say what? Say it, say it, say it. Your moss. Your moss. Moss. And you're going to say, Has Junior Hu'ur, Has Junior Luro, or Hacho, Raptapo, So those are the I keep saying the top, but I guess because I'm thinking of that chart, but they are the roots of the family tree. Way at the bottom, there's what makes it strong, what makes the family strong. So Hugam, those four, again, there's four of them. The one above that is the higher. And if you forget how to say those Gohk or Nawask or whatever, again, the word for elder or older, which can be like 2 seconds older or 3 months older or 5 months older or 10 years older or really old, you're saying you cease. You can go and say to your Ribi, if you don't remember saying you cease, that's the im, you cease. The other word backward is Yeshurpich. So if you forget your wask, you know what the title is, or you don't know what to call him, then you say, you cease. And he'll say, hey, Yeshurpich, you know, I haven't heard that for a long time. I happened that you're calling me, and you make, oh, I feel so good. Here's $10 now. What come on out of the store? Bring me one, just one. Bake candy, huh? It's like that. So again, you need to use it, or you're not going to remember. Some kids, these kids here, grandkids call me Body, Body, and it's funny because all of a sudden all the other kids around started calling me that, and I'm like, I'm not like that to them, but at least they're using an autumn word. And when they grow older, I will tell them, no, 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 I'm not your body. I am your we call them. That's what you call them. Either way, okay. So I'm just bringing that. Then the next session is going to be on the middle segment between those two. So okay. Oi, ito. What ka order ni kita? Shower. Asa pa yo.